And welcome back to another episode of Life in Prison. As always, my name is Zach. And if you're new, haven't already done it, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification button so you'll be first informed when I upload. If you guys enjoy prison content, because that right here is what it is. So today, what we're going to be getting into is the most deadliest prisons in West Virginia. If you haven't already done it, go ahead and check out Stonedcollective.Shop. My buddy Caleb went ahead and opened up the online store. Go ahead and check out the new merchandise. Just had a new drop. Shirts, bags, t-shirts, got it all. Go ahead and check it out. Show them some love over at Stone Collective Supply Company on Instagram also. Caleb, fucking love you, bro. The lower classification or, the lower facilities complexes going all the way up to maximum security complexes in West Virginia. So, first we're going to start with the Anthony Center, which was the first DOC that I had actually ever went to. A little history of the Anthony Center. So it's a facility, right, that holds not only male, but female prisoners also, ages 18 through 25 years of age. But the funny thing is where it's at. Beautiful scenery out in the middle of nowhere, as most prisons are, out in the middle of the wilderness, right? The problem is it's literally smack dab in the middle of Greenbrier County. If anybody knows what Greenbrier County is, technically White Sulphur Springs is the area, right? The township, I guess. White Sulphur Springs, Greenbrier County. Well, that is where Wrong Turn is based out of. Yes, the inbred eating motherfuckers, Wrong Turn, yes, that area. That's where this prison is. For the short stint that I was there, 3.5 months, give or take, definitely, even though there was females there, when I mean back then when I was there, 2011, 2012, before I got kicked out, you could sit literally right next to, I would sit during the day with a female right next to me. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much why people got kicked out, because it's set up for failure. Now you can't be within 25 feet of another female. So that is a medium security prison. Next, we are going to Northern Regional Correctional Facility. So this place was built in 1994. The thing is, it's a prison and a jail. So you got Northern Regional Jail, and then you got the prison. Well, the prison side is a minimum 2 high security prison. Hands down, pretty much, it's a check-in facility, okay? Most gang dropouts or rats will go to Northern. If most people know, if you went to Northern and you weren't there for the jail portion and you was there for the prison portion, something was not right there. You know what I'm saying? That's literally where the check-ins go. At that facility, 253 inmates is the capacity, and as I said before, most of those people, 98% of those people are check-ins. Rats, no good, alright? Then you got St. Mary's Correctional Center, which is a medium security prison. I've never been there myself, but there's a few DMI comrades that I've had that have been there. Pretty much from what I hear, it's the trap. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people getting stuff in. Most people there are getting high and gambling and just getting fucked up, pretty much. It holds 620 inmates, and it is one of the 3 prisons that has the dog program. So, what these dog programs are, it's service dogs. So, before they leave each facility, these dogs have to know between 100 and 120 commands on cue, right? So these service dogs are for individuals, PTSD, for veterans, anybody that might need a service dog. That's another place that they're trained at. Now, if you were to want to buy one of these dogs after it's fully trained, it's around $30,000-$40,000. But if you have insurance and you're in need of a service dog, this is one of the facilities that they'll be trained at. As I said, they're a medium security prison. Not too much going on there. There's always going to be some fights and stabbings at all these facilities, but the lower the classification, there's might be little gangs here and there, but it's not really serious. There's a lot of drugs, but people just getting high, pretty much. There's not too many violent or deaths that happen in these lower classification prisons. I'm not saying that they don't, but it's more of the maximum security side of things where these gangs are really violent and, things happen. So next, we got Salem Correctional Center. So it is out in Lewis County. Don't know where the fuck that's at. Never been there. It holds about 388 inmate adults. Salem is another place where there's been a few of my comrades that came from. Down there, once again, pretty much drugs. If you're in a lower classification prison, you have more freedom to move about. You got more freedom to do things. You're not always on camera and someone's not always watching over you. So a lot of these places, they have a lot more drugs sometimes than some of these higher classification. Then you got Perneytown Correctional Center. So Perneytown is another work release center. So Perneytown, it's pretty much, how do I say it? You can get up in the morning, brush your teeth, get ready, walk out the doors into freedom, right? That's the good thing about these work release centers, and it is a minimum to medium level security prison. It opened up in 1985 and it holds 369 inmates. These places here, the problems that they have most is not gangs or violence, it's drug use, because once again, you can walk out onto the street and meet whoever you'd want. If you want to go get a big bag of dope or a big bag of crack or some weed, you can do exactly that. And that's what a lot of people are having problems with. In my head, I would think, hey, if I'm right out the door, right, getting ready to get home, because these prisons, you're not going to go there unless you've got so many months, so many years to the board. If you have 10 years to the board, you're not going to these places. Number two, second prison that has the dog program, which once again, after learning 100 to 120 commands, then they will be sent off to the next facility. So next we have Denmar Correctional Center. So it is a medium security in Pocahontas County, West Virginia. Never been there. It opened up in 1993 and it holds about 235 inmates. Never been to Denmar myself. Once again, had a few comrades that came from there, and once again, it's thriving in drugs. Whenever you get a few individuals, if you get a few Bloods, Crips, Vice Lords, DMI, Odinist, some of these lower classification prisons, if people will start clicking up, right? And if you can get a steady flow of things, then people, I'm not gonna lie, there's been a few times some comrades have been running some things, but then again, most of the time they end up getting in trouble for beating or stabbing somebody up and then getting shipped to a higher classification prison. It opened up in 2012, but it was an old Holiday Inn. So they took a old hotel, motel, whatever, and converted it into a now prison facility. It holds 130 inmates. It's crazy because it's a low risk. This place is a low risk facility. That's it. Low risk facility, and you have to be 18 months either out from the board or out till discharge. Either or, you have to be within 18 months before you're leaving prison, regardless if it's going to be parole or you're walking out, right? Is Parkersburg Correctional Center. It is a work release, so that's the only way you're getting here, and this is in Parkersburg, which so happens to have a federal work release camp up there also. My dog Cody, who's now currently back up at Hazleton now, had to go and pick him up there from the Parkersburg, work release after he got doing, 9.5, 10 years in the feds in Maryland State and in West Virginia. He's been doing some time, man. He's a fucking soldier, I'll tell you that much. Next we have Lakin, the only female prison in West Virginia. Now you have, female federal prisons, but this is the only female state prison in West Virginia. It holds 543 inmates, and it was built in 2003. It's between a minimum and a maximum security prison, because now, before then, they didn't have a place to hold these female inmates, right? They would have them just scattered about facilities. After 2003, they were able to build this place, and now they have from the worst to the not so worst inmates. You know, you have females that are doing life in prison without, and you've got females that are, you know, doing 3 months in prison time and then getting out type stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you get a year sentence, you can put on half that. So it holds both. You know what I mean? Next on the counter is Huntsville Correctional Center. It is medium to high security prison. This was the one of the other prisons that I ended up going to. I ended up spending a majority of my time at this prison, almost 4 years altogether, because I finished the time off at Mount Olive before they shipped me back to Huntsville to finish out my time. Because once again, I was a 1 to 10. I had a little 1 to 10. So as some of the videos, I got up to Mount Olive and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? So that took them a few months to even realize that shit. But Huntsville Correctional Center is in Randolph County, West Virginia. It holds about, its capacity is 1,186. Honestly, there's about 1,300 to 1,500 inmates there just because they are full capacity, you know what I'm saying? It opened up in 1939. You know, the old parts of Huntsville is definitely old, like the dorms and stuff. You know, got about 60, 70 individuals out there on bunks, and it gets hot because you gotta think this building was built in 1939. Now in 2000 is when they built the new 4 wings. You got B1 and B2. B2 was the gang unit that I did my whole time on. Then you have E1 and E2, which is the shoe or segregation, which is the only 2 new parts that was on north side, and then for south side was B1 and B2 was the new parts. Those are the only reason why they put those sections in there is because they didn't have any place to really hold maximum security inmates, such as myself, leveled at 5. You have to be in a cell if you are classified as a 5. Single cell in West Virginia, you are classified as a high risk inmate. You have to be single cell. Huntsville, there's a little bit more killings. You know, I've done a video before on murders in West Virginia. Go ahead and check that video. It is fire, along with the corruption that happened up at Mount Olive back in 2019. Huntsville, that's when, you know, there's a lot more stabbings, there's a lot more violence, just because it is a higher classification prison. Now you have a plethora of gang members splattered throughout the whole prison, from low classification up to higher classification. You've got people that are going to be getting out within the next 6 months compared to people that have already been in prison for the past 20 years and now they're coming and getting ready to get out the door. What will happen at Huntsville is no one with a life without sentence is going to be there. But if you're coming off of a life sentence or coming off of a massive sentence, they'll drop you from Mount Olive, bring you down to Huntsville, and you work your way out the door. The number 1 spot for most deadliest prison in West Virginia, it's a 2-spotter, all right? So first we're going to have to go back in history. So Moundsville was technically West Virginia's penitentiary, and it was called the Wall. You know, there was a lot of people that got killed there. Not only inmates, but plenty of COs that got brutally murdered. I do believe another YouTuber, Lockdown 23-1 Death, I do believe he did a recent video where he went to Moundsville and did a video, so go ahead and check that video out. So he does a whole video tour of the place and breaks down where individuals were killed, gutted, got thrown off the top tier, which is a nice drop, straight on the McNugget, twice. They dropped this dude twice off the top tier. So, also, in one of my other videos, I talked about the murder that happened at Moundsville before it got shut down. Like I said, 1945 is when that place got the kaputty. You know, because in 1995, so 1995 is when Mount Olive. So after Moundsville shut down, because it was old and decrepit, okay? You already had these other facilities, but there needed to be a place that could hold people that had either thousands of year sentences or life without the possibility of parole. So, in 1995, up at Mount Olive, that's the town, they built a facility, literally perched on the top of a mountain. Don't get me wrong, the view is beautiful. You see bald eagles, you see deer on a daily basis, you see bear on a, I'd say, monthly basis. It's fucking out there, and you can see for miles, pretty much. So, up in Mount Olive, it's different though, because all these other facilities are pretty much massive facilities and you stay within inside. But Mount Olive, every freaking dorm, right, every pod is situated around each other, and they're all by name. You got Pine, Stewart, Branch, like, you know what I'm saying, a bunch of weirdo stuff, right? And then the segregation side, the hole, which if you really do some crazy shit, there's people that are doing life in the hole. It's called the Q's program, Quincy, which was an old correctional officer that ended up dying, and they dedicated this program to him. So if you ever get to the hole, the Q's program at Mount Olive, there's dudes back here that are never getting out. And honestly, even though you're in the hole in segregation, that hole in segregation is so much better than some yards. But it's brutal. You know, there's there's many deaths and murders that happen on a yearly basis up at Mount Olive. You know, and it only holds 1,030 inmates, but Mount Olive is equal to the federal prison level 5, and that is the highest maximum security prison that you could get to in West Virginia. And thank God, honestly, I went up there. You know, this is how it happened. I ended up getting in trouble for selling some pills to somebody at Huntsville, right? So I got 30 days because they couldn't prove that I passed the pills off to dude, right? But they seen me pass something off to dude, so when they checked dude, they found pills. So they can only assume that I handed it off, but they couldn't prove it. So they gave me 30 days, and that was the last straw. They shipped me out of Huntsville up to Mount Olive, okay? So I had 30 days in the hole. I did 15 days in the hole at Huntsville, right? They shipped me up to Mount Olive. I did the rest of the 15 days, then I hit the yard. That was the best day of my fucking life. You're up here with the wolves, which is, you're absolutely right, because 3 days after I touched the yard, that's when old boy ended up getting his head chopped off out on the weight pile. Once again, I ended up talking about in my previous video with the murders that happened in West Virginia prison. Yeah, dude got his head chopped off 3 days after I touched down on the yard, and craziest shit that I've ever seen, you know. This Aryan Brotherhood dude was trying to take this baby raper's head off and successfully fucking did it, you know. Mount Olive tops the charts for the #1 most violent prison state-wise in West Virginia. As alwaase, guys, thank you for always being supportive. This was just a short video on the least 2 most dangerous prisons in West Virginia, state-wise. So, as always, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done it, along with hitting that bell notification button. I greatly appreciate it. So, as always, guys, I send my utmost love, loyalty, respect. I want you guys to stay up, stay positive, stay out, stay free, and keep the motherfucking positivity going. Yeah.